Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Youth Jam. Let's get started today. Today is in the west coast of America. It's Nrsimha Chaturdashi, and I believe in the East Coast and some other places it's being celebrated tomorrow. So we're having a little session kind of in honor of that, and we'll be celebrating that a little bit today. So we've sent some resources in the chat. And we'll just start off today's session with the prayer. The prayer format is also in the chat. So the way this works is one person nominates someone else to make the prayer and someone seconds that nomination. Would anyone like to nominate someone to make a prayer for today? Anapaini Bhakti nominates Nitai. I second that nomination. Nitai, would you like to make a prayer?
Okay. I pray to Shishi Radha Madan Mohan, Shishi Gonita, and Shishi Jagannath Baldev Subhadra to make the youth jam successful. Thank you for considering my prayer. That's it.
Thank you. That was a beautiful prayer. So with that, we'll get started. The first thing that we're going to do today is, because of the festivities of Nrsimha Chaturdashi, we're going to be reading some of Prahlad Maharaj's prayers that are found in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Anapayani Bhakti Devidasi will lead us in that.
All right, Hare Krishna, everyone. So these prayers are really long, so we're just gonna go till 25. So I'll be reciting the prayers. Please recite along with me behind your muted mics. Then afterwards we can read the translations together. Ashtau Shidharime Kagra Manasa Susamahita Prema Gadgadaya Vacha Tanyastharidayekshana Shri Parada Uvacha Brahmadaya Suragana Munayoth Siddha Satvekatana Gatayo Vachasam Pravahe Naradhitum Puruguneradhunapi Pipru Kim Toshtumarhati Same Harirugrajate Manye Dhanabhijanarupatapashritau jas Teja Prabhava Balapurusha Buddhi Yoga Naradhanaya hi bhavanti parasya pumso Bhaktya tutosha bhagavan gajayuthapaya Viprat vishadgunayutad aravindanabha Padaravinda vimukat swapacham varishtam Manye tadarpita manovachane hitartha Pranam punati sakulam natu bhurimana Naivatmana prabhurayam nijalabhapurno Manam janada vidusha karuno vrinite Yad yad jano bhagavate vidadhitamanam Tajatmane pratimukhasya yatha mukashri Tasmadaham vigata viklava ishvarasya Sarvatmana mahigrinami yatha manisham Nicho jaya guna visarga manu pravishta Puyeta yena hi puman anuvarnitena Sarve yami vidikarastav sattvadhamno Brahmadayo vayami vishana chodvijanta Kshemaya bhutaya utatma sukhaya chasya Vikriditam bhagavato ruchiravatare Tadyachamanyum asurascha hatastvayadya Modeta sadhurapi vrishchika sarpahatya Lokascha nirvritamita pratiyanti sarve Rupam narsimha vibhayaya jana smaranti Naham bhivimya jitate bhayanakasya Jivarkanetra bhrukutira basogradam strat Antrasrajakshata jakeshara shankukarnan Niradabhita digibad aribhinna khagrat Trastosmyaham kripanavatsala sahogra Samsara chakra kadanad grasatam pranita Baddhasvakarma birushattamate moolam Pritopavarga sharanam vayase kadanu Yasmat priya priya viyoga samyoga janma Shokagnina sakalayoni shudayamana Dukaushadam tadapi dukkhamatadiyaham Bhuman pramami vadame tavadasya yogam Soham priyasya surada paradevataya Leela katastava nrsimha virinchi gita Anjastitarmyanugranaन् gunavipramukto Durgani te padayugalaya hamsasanga Balasya neha sharanam pitarau nashinga Nartasya chagadamudanvati majjatono Taptasya tat pratividirya ihanjashishtas Tavad vibhotanubritam tvadupekshitanam Yasmin yato yariyena cha yasya yasmad Yasmai yatha yadutayastvapara paro va Bhava karoti vikaroti pratak svabhava Sanchoditastadakhilam bhavata swarupam Maya manashrijati karma mayam baliya Kalena chodita gumate sa samsara chakramajaket. And next slide. Satvam hi nitya vijitatma kali krenam drishta maya divi vibho kiladhishnypanam ayushriyo vibhava ichtiyanjano ye pitu kubita bhasatute rasa. Next slide, please. Mahamashi Ayushriyam Vibhavam. Sorry, I think I cut out. Nechamite Vikramena Alatmanopmam Nijabhritya Parshan. Are you guys able to hear me okay? Or is it lagging a little? Good. Okay. Kutra Shisha Shruti Sukha Mrigatrishni Rupa Kvedam Kalevaramashesha Rujam Viroha Nirvidyate Natu Jano Yadapiti Vidvan Kamanalam Madhulabhe Shamayan Durape. Okay, great. So now that we read until 25, since there's just 9 of us on this call, I was thinking, why don't we all read 2 of the translations? So Adiraj, if you could go back to verse 7, I believe was where we started. So I can start off with 2, and then we can just follow the order down the screen. So next would be Adriraj, then Arushi, Haridas, Nitai, Keshav, Navya, Riyan, and then Sakhi Brinda. So I will begin. Prahlad Maharaj fixed his mind and sight upon Lord Narsimhadev with full attention in complete trance. With the fixed mind, he began to offer prayers in love with a faltering voice. Prahlad Maharaj prayed, "How is it possible for me, who have been born in a family of asuras, to offer suitable prayers to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even until now, all the demigods, headed by Lord Brahma, and all the saintly persons could not satisfy the Lord by streams of excellent words, although such persons are very qualified, being the mode of goodness. Then what is to be said of me? I am not at all qualified.
Is it me next?
Yeah, go for it.
Prahlad Maharaj continued, one may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. If a Brahmana has all 12 of the Brahminical qualifications, as they are stated in the book called Sanat Sujata, but is not a devotee and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, he is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog eater, but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life, to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee is better than a Brahmana because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas the so-called Brahmana, in a position of false prestige, cannot purify even himself.
Arishi, you can go next. Arishi, are you able to read right now? Okay, if not, Avian, do you want to read these next two?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
I believe you muted.
The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always fully satisfied in himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offering by the Lord's mercy is for the benefit of the devotees, for the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is also seen to be decorated. Therefore, although I was born in a demoniac family, I may without a doubt offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor as far as my intelligence allows. Anyone who has been forced by ignorance to enter the material world may be purified of material life if he offers prayers to the Lord and hears the Lord's glories.
Thank you. Rian, you can go next.
O my Lord, all of the demigods headed by Lord Brahma are sincere servants of your lordship who are situated in a transcendental position. Therefore, they are not like us, which is Prahlad and his father, the demon Hiranyakashipu. Your appearance in this fearsome form is your pastime for your own pleasure. Such an incarnation is always meant for the protection and improvement of this universe. My Lord Narasimhadev, please therefore cease your anger now that my father, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, has been killed. Since even saintly persons take pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake, all of the worlds have achieved great satisfaction because of the death of this demon. Now they are confident about their happiness, and they will always remember your auspicious incarnation in order to be free from fear.
Thank you. Nitai, you can go next.
Okay. My Lord, who are never conquered by anyone. I am certainly not afraid of your ferocious mouth and tongue, your eyes bright like the sun, or your frowning eyebrows. I do not fear your sharp pinching teeth, your garland of intestines, your mane soaked with blood, or your high, wet, wedge-like ears. Nor do I fear your tumultuous roaring, which makes elephants flee to distant places, or your nails, which are meant to kill your enemies. O powerful, almost powerful, insurmountable Lord, who are kind to the fallen souls, I have been put into the association of demons as a result of my activities, and therefore I am very much afraid of my condition of, of life within this material world. When will that moment come when you will call me to the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the ultimate goal for salvation from conditional life?
Thank you. Keshav, you can go.
Okay. Oh, great one. Oh, Supreme. Wait, how many verses?
We're doing 2 each.
Okay. Oh, great one. Oh, Supreme Lord, because of combination of pleasing and displeasing circumstances, and because of separation from them, one is placed in the most regrettable position within heavenly or hellish planets, as if burning in a fire of lamentation. Although there are many remedies by which to get out of miserable life, any such remedies in the material world are more miserable than the miseries themselves. Therefore, I think that the only remedy is to engage in your service. Kindly instruct me in such service. O my Lord Nrsimhadev, by engaging in your transcendental loving service in the association of devotees who are liberated souls, Hum says, I shall become completely uncontaminated by the association of the three modes of material nature and be able to chant the glories of your Lordship, who are so dear to me. I shall chant your glories, following exactly in the footsteps of Lord Brahma in his disciplic succession. In this way, I shall undoubtedly be able to cross the ocean of Messiah.
Thank you. Haridas?
My Lord Nrsimhadev, O Supreme, because of a bodily conception of life, embodied souls neglected and not cared for by you cannot do anything for their betterment. Whatever remedies they accept, although perhaps temporarily beneficial, are certainly impermanent. For example, a father and mother cannot protect their child, a physician and medicine cannot relieve a suffering patient, and a boat on the ocean cannot protect a drowning man. My dear Lord, everyone in the material world is under the modes of material nature, being influenced by goodness, passion, and ignorance. Everyone from the greatest personality, Lord Brahma, down to the smallest ant, works under the influence of these modes. Therefore, everyone in this material world is influenced by your energy. The cause for which they work, the place where they work, the time when they work, the matter due to which they work, the goal of life they have considered final, and the process for obtaining this goal all are nothing but manifestations of your energy. Indeed, since the energy and energetic are identical, all of them are but manifestations of you.
Thank you. Navya, did you already go?
No.
Okay, you can go.
O Lord, O Supreme Eternal, by expanding your plenary portion, you have created the settled bodies of the living entities through the agency of your external energy, which is agitated by time. Thus, the mind entraps the living entity in unlimited varieties of desires to be fulfilled by the Vedic directions of Karmakanda, fruit of activity, and 16 elements. Who can get free from this entanglement unless he takes shelter at your lotus feet? My dear Lord, O Supreme Great, you have created this material world of 16 constituents, but you are transcendental to their material qualities. In other words, these material qualities are under your full control, and you are never conquered by them. Therefore, the time element is your representation. My Lord, O Supreme, no one can conquer you. As for me, however, I am being crushed by the wheel of time, and therefore I surrender fully unto you. Now kindly take me under the protection of your lotus feet. Um, um,
Okay, thank you. Saki Vrinda. You can-
My dear Lord, people in general want to be elevated to the higher planetary systems for a long duration of life, opulence, and enjoyment. But I have seen all of these through the activities of my father. When my father was angry and he laughed sarcastically at the demigods, they were immediately vanquished simply by seeing the movements of his eyebrows. Yet my father, who was so powerful, has now been vanquished by you within a moment. My dear Lord, now I have complete experience concerning the worldly opulence, mystic power, longevity, and other material pleasures enjoyed by all living entities, from Lord Brahma down to the ant. As powerful time, you destroy them all. Therefore, because of my experience, I do not wish to possess them. My dear Lord, I request you to place me in touch with your pure devotee and let me serve him as a sincere servant.
Thank you. And we have one more. Radhika, would you like to finish it off?
In this material world, every living thing, every living entity desires some future happiness, which is exactly like a mirage in the desert. Where is water in the desert, or in other words, where is happiness in this material world? As for this body, what is its value? It is merely a source of various disease. The so called philosophers, scientists, and politicians know this very well, but nonetheless, they aspire for temporary happiness. Happiness is very difficult to obtain, but because they are unable to control their senses, they run after the so called happiness of the material world and never come to the right conclusion.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for reading along with those prayers. That was only some of the prayers because the whole set is very long, but we hope that you saw something new or something interesting in those prayers. And what we're going to do next is we're going to quickly chant the Bhagavad Gita. We're going to do our Chad chapter a day. And today we're going to be doing chapter 9. So I will be reciting it, and then everyone behind muted mics, I would also encourage you to recite along with me. We'll be doing the Sanskrit today. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyatamam pravakshyamyanusuyave jnanam vijnana sahitam yajñatva mokshyase shubhat Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshavagaman Dharmyam Susukham Kartum Avyayam Ashraddhadhana Purusha Dharmasyasya Parantapa Aprapya Mam Nivartante Mrityu Samsara Vartmani Maya Tatam Idam Sarvam Jagad Avyaktamurtina Matsthani Sarvabhutani Nachaham Teshvavastita Nacha Matsthani Bhutani Pashyame Yogamaishwaram Bhuta Brinna Cha Bhutasto Mamatma Bhuta Bhavanaha Yata Kasha Stito Nityam Vayu Sarvatra Go Mahan Tata Sarvani Bhutani Matstani Tyupadharaya Sarva Bhutani Kaunteya Prakritim Yanti Mamikam कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम् प्रकृतिं अवष्टभ्य विसृजामि पुनः पुनः भूतग्रामम् इमं कृत्स्नम् अवशं प्रकृतिर्वशात् न च मां तानि कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय उदासीनवदासीनम् असक्तं तेषु कर्मसु मयाध्यक्षेण प्रकृति सूयते सचराचरम् हेतुनानेन कौन्तेय जगद्विपरिवर्तते अवजानान्ति मां मूढः मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितं परं भावम् अजानन्तो मम भूतमहेश्वरम् मोघाशामोघकर्माणो मोघज्ञानविचेतसः राक्षसीमासुरीं चैव प्रकृतिं मोहिनीं श्रितः महात्मानस्तु मां पार्थ दैवीं प्रकृतिमाश्रिता भजन्त्यनन्यमनसो ज्ञात्वा भूतादिमव्ययम् सततां कीर्तयन्तो मां यतन्तश्च दृढव्रतः नमस्यन्तश्च मां भक्त्या नित्ययुक्ता उपासते ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम् अहं क्रतुरहं यज्ञ स्वाधाहम् अहमौषधम् मन्त्रोऽहम् अहमेवाज्यम् अहम् अग्निरहं हुतम् पिताहम् अस्य जगतो माता धाता पितामहः वेद्यं पवित्रमोङ्कार ऋक्सामयजुरेव च गतिर्भर्ता प्रभु साक्षी निवास शरणं सुहृत् प्रभव प्रलयस्थानं निधानं बीजमव्ययम् तपाम्यहम् अहं वर्षं निगृह्णाम्युत्सृजामि च अमृतं चैव मृत्युश्च सद् असच्चाहमर्जुन त्रैविद्यमां सोमपपूतपाप यज्ञैरिष्ट्वा स्वर्गतिं प्रार्थयन्ते ते पुण्यामासाद्य सुरेन्द्रलोकम् अश्नन्ति दिव्यान् दिवि देव भोगान् ते तं भुक्त्वा स्वर्गलोकं विशालं क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्रयी धर्ममनुप्रपन्ना गतागतं कामकामा लभन्ते अनन्यश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जना पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम् येऽप्यन्या देवता भक्ता यजन्ते श्रद्धयान्वितः तेऽपि मामेव कौन्तेय यजन्त्यविधिपूर्वकम् अहं हि सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च प्रभुरेव च न तु मामभिजानन्ति तत्त्वेनातश्च्यवन्ति ते यान्ति देवाव्रता देवान् पितॄन्यान्ति पितृव्रतः भूतानि यान्ति भूतेज्य यान्ति मद्याजिनोऽपि माम् पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो मे भक्त्या प्रयच्छति तदहं भक्त्युपहृतम् अश्नामि प्रयतात्मनः यत्करोषि अश्नासि यज्जुहोषि ददासि यत् तपस्यसि कौन्तेय तत्कुरुष्व मदर्पणम् शुभाशुभफलैरेवं मोक्ष्यसे कर्मबन्धनै संन्यासयोगयुक्तात्मा विमुक्तो मामुपैष्यसि समोऽहं सर्वभूतेषु न मे द्वेष्योऽस्ति न प्रियः ये भजन्ति तु मां भक्त्या मयि ते तेषु चाप्यहम् अपि चेत् सुदुराचारो भजते मामनन्यभक् साधुरेव समन्तव्य सम्यग् व्यवसितो हि स क्षिप्रं भवति धर्मात्मा शाश्वतशान्तिं निगच्छति कौन्तेय प्रतिजानीहि न मे भक्तः प्रणश्यति मां हि पार्थ व्यपाश्रित्य येऽपि स्युपापयोनयः स्त्रियो वैश्यस्तथा शूद्रस्तेऽपि यान्ति परां गतिम् किं पुनर्ब्राह्मणपुण्य भक्तराजर्षयस्ततः अनित्यम् असुखं लोकम् इमं प्राप्य भजस्व माम् मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैश्यसि युक्त्वैवम् आत्मानं मत्परायणः Om Tat Sat. Thank you, everyone. That was our Chad. And now we'll be doing some reading, which we can all participate in together. So we'll be reading from the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, and we'll just be continuing where we left off. We can do 3 paragraphs per person. And if you would like to read, please raise your hand and we can go down the list and we can have everyone read. Can everyone see? Okay. Keshav, you can start us off.
Yet, even in Abhai's relatively brief 60 years of experience, he had seen Indian culture, which in his childhood had retained much of the original purity of the Vedic age, degrade. Now he saw a society in which his countrymen were victimized by the propaganda that they could be happy and grasp materialistic indulgence. The British had introduced tea, tobacco, meat, and factories, and now, even after independence, these were a part of India's new way of life. Having driven away the British, the Indians were imitating Western ways, and India's leaders were deliberately ignoring the basic principles of God consciousness, the very treasures India was meant to distribute to the whole world. Abaya had seen how India had abandoned her spiritual heritage and gone running after the modernization of the West. But now, where was that material advancement? Were Indians any happier in their independence than they had been in British days? To Abaya, the overpopulated city was a hell of ruffians and fools. All the thousands of poor people were employed in the
Just got me this pearl for this
burgeoning
pearl is for
steel
keeping me
mills and
spiritually
tire
calm.
factories.
Kids, I curse all the time.
Burgeoning steel mills and tire factories, their living conditions had worsened. Abai voiced his concern about these conditions in his back to Goddess. Could the poor eat the nuts and bolts produced in the factory? Could they be nourished by cinema, television, or sex songs on the radio? The leaders were unable to see that abandoning spiritual principles had led to the very ills they officially abhorred: a decadent, rebellious youth, corruption in every area of civic life, and even economic instability and scarcity. When Abaya had been a youth in Calcutta, there had been no cinema billboards advertising lurid sexual fantasies. But now India had developed the third largest movie industry in the world, and film advertisements were all over Delhi. Beef shops and liquor shops had sprung up. The newspapers regularly ran editorials deploring the degradation of young Indian boys who teased, insulted, and affronted women on the street. Women's leagues complained about increased juvenile promiscuity and the obscene treatment of women in films and advertisements. But there were no upright brahmanas or saintly administrators to do anything about that. Abai saw the need for a re-spiritualization of society, but society was rushing headlong in the opposite direction. In February, even as Abai was trying to publish his Back to Godhead, Prime Minister Nehru, while speaking with concern of India's crisis of the spirit, simultaneously launched another 5-year plan for rapid industrialization. Everyone from the Prime Minister down to the common man was concerned about the symptomatic problems, but no one seemed to understand that the real problem was a lack of God consciousness.
Abhay had to deliver the medicine for the ills of Kali Yuga. He knew it was needed on a much larger scale than he could reach on his own. But even to administer one issue of Back to Godhead was almost beyond his means. Writing the articles, typing them, taking them to the printer, and distributing them should not have been the work of one lone, impoverished devotee. But in working with his god brothers, he had met their decided lack of organization and their lack of desire for vigorous preaching. Bhakti Saranga Goswami had seemed determined to keep Sajna Tosani a small, and his mata, like so many others, had been ineffectual in attracting new members. This was petty-mindedness that would cripple preaching. Therefore, he was now working alone on a small scale, happy in his spiritual welfare work, yet aware that his 4-page newspaper is only a drop of water in the desert. In February of 1956, while the U.S. was struggling with civil rights, while Krev and Eisenhower were openly deploring the arms race and were maneuvering in nuclear disarmament talks, and while Shah of Iran was visiting New Delhi, Abhay was trying to print the Back to Godhead. In winter's discomfort, he walked through the early morning streets of Delhi to visit Shrindra Kumarjan, the printer, to read the latest proofs. By walking, he saved money. Only when he was delivering paper from the paper dealer to the printer would he rent a rickshaw. He had no kadra, only a lightweight cotton jacket, and he wore rubber shoes. He also wore a cotton hat that covered his ears and tied beneath his chin, protecting him from the 40 degrees wintry mornings and sometimes gusty winds. Kumarjan. My first impression was that he was a nice person and straightforward. I felt pity also because of the conditions which would come. I knew he didn't have even 25 pesa. He would come all the way on foot and without any breakfast or anything. He would come in the morning to the press, and when I would ask him, Swamiji, did you have anything to eat this morning? He would say, Oh no, Mr. Jain, I just came because I had to see the proofs.
That's all right, I would say. I'll get breakfast for you. I would call for breakfast and then he would sit and work. He would do the proofreading himself. The printing was done by me, and most of the time he would like to be present when that final printing was being done. He would come in the morning around 7 and stay until he had seen all the proofs. It was a regular thing that he would come without breakfast. I would arrange for breakfast and we would sit across the table from one another for hours together. He was always talking on religious subjects only, but when we would be sitting, especially waiting for the proofs to come, we would discuss many things. I felt that he knew quite a lot because he was a well read person. He was more a friend than just a person coming to get things printed. He was a very simple man, straightforward in his habits, but his mission at the time was particularly to further the movement of Back to Godhead. His financial condition was very, very weak. Sometimes the printing would be difficult because he was not able to arrange for the paper. Many times I told him that if he was feeling difficulty, why was he continuing? But he said, No, it is my mission and I will always carry it on as far as possible. I tried to accommodate him to the maximum possible extent, but he was a real pauper.
Oh, you can read one more since your first one was very short.
Okay. We were not uncomfortable together, but as business would have it, if the bills were standing for a long time, then I would ask him if he could do something about it. He would say, Don't worry, you can be sure that your money is coming. I never asked him where his funds are coming from because I felt that if it was his personal matter. But it was embarrassing for him when he could not pay, so I never tried to embarrass him. He was concerned that if he didn't have any money, how could he print the paper? And he definitely wanted to run that paper.
He wanted to preach the teachings of the Gita. He thought of it as a short sort of movement, that it was the only way that people in the world would see. His conviction was very strong. After picking up the copies from the printer, Appai would walk around the city selling them. He would take a seat at a tea stand, and when someone sat beside him, Abhay would ask him please to take a copy or back to garden. He also went to the homes and offices of people who had already donated or agreed to see him, and he sought out new contacts, sometimes on recommendation or sometimes by going uninvited wherever he could find a potential reader. When he delivered copies or regular donors, he, he would discuss the previous issue's philosophy with them and sometimes write articles on topics they discussed. Our esteemed friend Sri Bishan Prasad Maheshwari, one of the learned advocates of the Supreme Court, has requested us to write something on the principle of fruitive action with a special reference to vice and its potency. Often donors agree to see him not so much out of genuine interest or affection as out of a sense of obligation in the traditional Hindu piety. They felt obliged to see the sadhu take his paper and even think well of him, but not necessarily to read his newspaper. Once, when Abba was approaching the well-to-do house, the owner came onto the second floor veranda and shouted, "Go away, we don't want you here." Abba responding to the resistant, polite and impolite that he met while selling back to garden, wrote an article, No Time, a chronic disease of common man for the March 16 edition.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone like to read this little blurb before we end? This is the last chance. Okay, Keshav.
Wait, from where? Which one?
You can just, since these are really small sentences, you can just read this whole page. So,
Okay. When we approach some gentleman and request him to become a reader back to God, and sometimes we reply with the words, no time. They say that they're too busy in earning money for maintaining the body and soul together. But when we ask them what do they mean by the soul, they have nothing to reply. Dr. Meghnad Saha, a great scientist, was busily going to a meeting of the planning commission. Unfortunately, while going in his car on the road, he died and could not ask death to wait because he had no time at that moment. Dr. Ansari, the great Congress leader, while dying in a moving train on his way to home, said that he was himself a medical man, and almost all his family men are so, but death is so cruel that he was dying without any medical treatment. Therefore, death has been described in the Bhagavad as undefatigable, inexplicable death is awaiting everyone, although everyone thinks that he may not die. There's life after death. The busy man should try to know this also as to whither he is going. This life is but a spot in his longest sojourn, and the sane person should not be busy with the spot only. Nobody says that the body should not be maintained, but everyone should know from Bhagavad Gita that the body is the outward dress, and the soul is the real person who puts on the dress. So if the dress is taken care of only without any care of the real person, it is sheer foolishness and a waste of time.
Thank you, Keshav. Thank you, everyone. That was the end of our reading for today. So now we can just have a short discussion before we end. Did anyone find anything interesting from the story that we read, or anything about the Prahlad Maharaj's prayers that we read that they wanted to share? Haridas?
Prabhupada sacrificed all his money in Bhakti Guided magazines, and sometimes he did not even eat. He did not think of any of his bodily comforts. Like, he was walking the full time just to save money, and he would avoid rickshaws as much as possible. So that's one thing we can learn, that Prabhupada was so selfless, and he wanted to serve the mission to his best capacity.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That Prabhupada used all of his money in Krishna's service, and he didn't take anything for himself. And that ultimately got him to a lot of success, because he was able to preach the Krishna conscious movement to many people all over the world. Keshav?
I just wanted to say that, like, for people who are born into Krishna consciousness, like kids that are born into Krishna consciousness, they don't really know about Prabhupada's struggle. Like, but I don't know about Prabhupada's struggle. But now when I read Leela Amrita, I really understand like how much he struggled just to like teach teach Krishna consciousness to everybody.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people, especially Prabhupada, went through a lot of struggles to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. So it's very nice for us to feel grateful to them for giving it to us. Nitai, did you want to share something before?
No, Prabhuji, Keshav already took it.
Oh, okay. That's nice. So, how many of us are celebrating Nrsimha Chaturdashi today? Is anyone here celebrating today? Rian is celebrating today. Okay. Is anyone celebrating? Oh, Radhika is celebrating today. I'm also celebrating today. Is anyone celebrating it tomorrow? Keshav, Nitai, and Haridas. Wow, that's nice. So why don't we go around and share something that we're looking forward to during the Nrsimha Chaturdashi celebrations? Nitai?
We are going to the temple, and we are going to do yagna and abhishek and hear the lecture.
Wow, that's very exciting to go to the temple and do all that. Yeah. One thing for me is the Abhishek. I'm very excited for the Abhishek that is going to happen in about 1 hour for us here. So, who else is looking forward to something to celebrate during Nrsimha Chaturdashi? Keshav, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I think there's gonna be a yagna, so like a yagna, and then every year, there's one Prabhuji that does a Nrsimhadev drama, so that, and just like going to the temple and like hearing about going to the temple and like doing all the programs there.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. Rian, what are you looking forward to?
Same thing, the Abhishekam.
Wow, yeah, I think it'll be very fun. Arida, what are you looking forward to?
Just going to the temple and then listening to the lecture and doing Abhishek.
Yeah, that's very fun. What about you, Radhika?
I'm going to the temple later today and being with my family there.
Wow, that's really nice to be with your family at the temple. Arushi, what are you looking forward to? Or if you're unable to speak, maybe Saki Brinda, you can share what you're looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to visiting the temple and seeking darshan from the deities, and also singing Narsimha Priya this evening.
Wow, that's really nice. Yeah, it looks like all of us are having a very exciting weekend. Lots to look forward to with Nrsimha Chaturdashi. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the Youth Gem today. It was kind of short and small, but we'll be back next week with more reading and more different shlokas to look forward to. So I hope everyone has a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.